Hi, I am Kayla Eldridge, and I have recently done some research on the topic of religion in public schools, and I've been asked to provide an update to the board. A few members of the board had asked me to do that. I'm going to remain as neutral as possible and will not share my personal opinions on this topic. So first, let's go through some of the research that's been done. I reviewed the Pew Research Center's report on religion in public schools that was done in 2019. And the first thing that they talked about was classroom prayer. They said that moments of silence are allowed because they're not secular, but prayer isn't because that doesn't include inclusion for all students. The Pledge of Allegiance is a gray area that has been found in circuit courts both ways, with the pledge being allowed and not allowed depending on where in the country you live. The courts do not allow speech by clergymen at school events. However, students delivering speeches are more of a gray area and again depend on kind of your location of where you're at. The courts are very clear that teaching about religion is allowed while worship or Bible reading is not allowed. Evolution should be taught over creationism because evolution is science-based and creationism is religious-based. The study of the Bible is allowed if the course is a critical course of literature and not devotional readings. For holiday programs, students should have the choice to participate or not without being penalized. Next, I'll talk more about the rights of students in and out of the classroom. So students' constitutional rights may be limited to prevent harming the rights of other students. Parents have the right to opt their student out of teaching that would go against their religious beliefs, although some courts have ruled that a one-time lesson on safe sex, for example, would do more the good than harm. Most recently, the transgender bathroom issue has become more of an issue, and the courts have sided with the schools allowing students to use their preferred bathroom. With teachers and administrators, the establishment clause is in effect. They're allowed to do what they wish outside of school, and minor speech about their personal choice is allowed. However, teaching students about their religion is not allowed. And extracurricular activities are a forum for student expression, and as such, religion-based clubs are permissible, but they must be open to any student who wishes to join that club. Now, a little bit of information from the U.S. Department of Education that was released back in 2020, and this was released as a guidance for schools so that you could kind of get an idea of what would or would not be allowed within your school. So students may pray when not engaged in school instruction or activities. They may organize prayer groups, religious clubs, and gathering for before or after school. Representatives of the school are prohibited from encouraging or discouraging prayer, from actively participating in such activities with students. If a school has a moment of silence, students are free to pray or not pray during that time, and teachers may not require, encourage, or discourage students from praying. Students have the discretion to I'm getting my students and my schools mixed up. Schools have the discretion to dismiss students for religious obligations, so they would excuse those absences. Students may express their beliefs in religion in homework, artwork, and other written and oral assignments free from discrimination based on the religious perspective of their submission. So the teacher would need to grade their assignment based on the work itself and not based on the content of that work. School officials may not mandate or organize prayer at graduation. They also may not mandate or organize religious ceremonies, but they can make facilities available for those ceremonies. Students have a right to distribute religious literature to their classmates on the same terms as they're permitted to distribute any other literature that is unrelated to school curriculum or activities. Public schools may not provide religious instruction, but they may teach about religion. Students may not single out religious attire in general or attire of a particular religion for prohibition or regulation. And school officials who excuse students from class on the basis of the parents' requests may not accord less favorable treatment to requests which are religious in nature. So now we'll go through some things about how Derby Public Schools looks in regards to religion. This is the policy listed. This policy on this slide is the only one that was listed in the table of contents with the word religion contained in the title. And what that said was, no religious belief or non-belief shall be promoted or disparaged by the district or its employees. Students and staff should be tolerant of each other's religious views. Students and staff members may be excused from participating in practices contrary to their religious beliefs unless there are clear educational issues or overriding concern which prevent it. So it talks about teaching about religion, and that you can teach about religion and religious literature and history, but they cannot promote, expound upon, criticize, or ridicule a religion. Religious texts may be used to teach about religion, but the use of religious texts is prohibited if used to promote a particular religious doctrine. Goes on to talk about religion in the curriculum and school activities. That we can have music, art, literature that has some religion in it, but they need to be in a balanced and objective manner, and could be a tradition for culture, a religious tradition on a particular holiday. The emphasis should be as extensive as necessary for a balanced and thorough study of those areas, but shouldn't foster any particular religious tenets or demean any other religious beliefs or non-beliefs. Symbols in the classroom. They can use temporary use of religious symbols that are part of religious holiday are permitted as teaching aid if they are displayed as an example of the holiday's cultural and religious heritage. And as far as religious holidays, holidays may be observed. School vacations shall have a secular designation such as winter break, spring break, graduation. We do recognize that there's significance of tradition, but graduation exercises and dedication ceremonies may only be done in a secular nature. Then there were several other policies that just briefly mentioned the word religion in them, so they weren't necessarily specifically about religion, but they did have them as part of it. One of those was on the equal opportunity employment and non-discrimination. So it has the standard statement of the district is an equal opportunity employer and shall not discriminate in its employment practices and policies with respect to hiring, compensation, terms, conditions, or privileges of employment because of an individual's race, color, national origin, religion, sex, age, disability, or genetic information. Then we also had on complaints that we are committed to maintaining a working and learning environment free from discrimination, insult, intimidation, or harassment. And that's due to race, color, national origin, religion, sex, age, genetic information, or disability. If we have pilot projects that are being done and we're sending surveys home to the students, we have to make sure that we are not asking about a student's religion, and that the parents can look at that survey prior to the student taking it. Privacy, we will not have tests, questionnaires, surveys, or examination containing any questions about a student's personal beliefs or practices. And that's unless a parent or guardian is notified in writing and the parent or guardian gives permission for the student to participate. Now, this is the second complaints that I found in there with the word religion in it, and this one goes into a little bit more detail and talks about maintaining a work and learning environment free from discrimination, insult, and intimidation or harassment, like the other one did, but it also talks about what that means, and that we'll have an active investigation, corresponding action, Anybody who is engaged in that discriminatory conduct will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination from employment or expulsion from school. Then there's also contact information to our HR department as far as address and phone number, and kind of the acts that go along with that. So it does get into that religion piece again. So this is the policies that I found for Derby and what we have in place currently, and also some research that I had done on what religion can look like in the school system. So my correlation, my assignment demonstrated correlation by evaluating 2 articles as well as board policies and communicating to the board about the articles and our current policies regarding religion. I analyzed the articles and the policies, communicated them through presentation, and then I would let the board take the presentation and make the changes as they saw fit based on the information they were provided. Then I would also ensure that my staff followed those policies. How is it relevant? It is relevant to my current learning about educational law because I was able to review both case law and Department of Education guidance document. I also learned more about our board policies, and it did improve my understanding of not only the laws but also the policies that it affects. My reflection, the assignment will allow me to make more informed decisions while in the leadership role. One example would be if a student were to be sent to the office for a dress code violation for wearing a shirt with a cross on it, I would know that that student is allowed to wear that shirt under the law and under our policies. Another example would be if a group of students were wanting to meet to pray prior to the school day, they would be allowed to do so without any repercussions from anyone in the school district. And then my references were the board policy, the Pew Research Center, and the U.S. Department of Education. Thanks for listening.